Our next speaker is also from CHOP, Kristin Cunningham. She's going to be talking about attainment of self-care using the PEDI.
All right, good afternoon. Hopefully everyone is still awake and listening. My name's Kristin Cunningham, and I'm from the CHOP team. And today I'm going to talk about self-care skill attainment using the PEDI and talking about the Vineland. And also I want to say thank you to the STX Foundation for having me here, as well as Bintu, Bain, and Julie Orlando that really were part of my team looking at this. Julie did all the analyzation of the data, so thank you. Okay, so introduction. So in the past, when we talk about phenotyping, we really have, you know, like Sam was mentioning, we've always talked about developmental skills, including talking about cognition, fine and gross motor skills, and communication. But also there's self-care skills. So I'm an occupational therapist, and traditionally we look at self-care skills. And self-care skills are important because they define autonomy and independence, but they're not always sufficiently addressed in current natural history studies. Activities of daily living, they're defined by the fundamental skills needed to work on things like eating and grooming and dressing and toileting and bathing independently. And so why is this important? Katie Rose Sullivan and Sarah Ruggiero did a disease concept model, and they spoke with parents of individuals with STXBP1, and the families reported that autonomy was one of the things that was important. So just being able to participate in activities of daily living and self-care skills. So adding this to the phenotyping of the disease is important. So this is just an idea for those in the room, just when we're talking about typically developing individuals. These are just different ages where children master self-care skills. And so if you look, you know, kids by age 7 really are completely independent in all the areas of eating, dressing, grooming, toileting, and bathing. So in thinking about that and thinking about our STX population, it's important to describe the development of self-care skills. So how do we measure self-care skills? So the one way that we measure self-care skills is through the Vineland, and right now that is part of the package that parents of individuals enrolled in our study complete through RareX. And the Vineland is just, it's a caregiver report. It's completed before the visit. The Vineland is applicable to kids or to individuals birth through 90 years old, and it's it looks at daily living skills. There's also it also looks at what we call IADLs, so things about like planning activities. Are you able to go to the grocery store? Are you able to read you know, a bus schedule and get yourself here and there? So the thing that we looked at was just the personal subdomain. And then the PEDI is something that we are using in clinic, so it's part of my clinical OT evaluation when individuals come and see us in the clinic. And the PEDI is something that it's completed through an interview with the parents that come to see us. And we can use the PEDI. The PEDI says that it can be used for individuals 6 months to 7.5 years, or if someone has a developmental delay, we can use it indefinitely, you know, up to age 99 chronological age. And then just to know how the PEDI is scored, so there's 8 self-care domains. They're the ones that I was talking about: eating, grooming, bathing, upper body and lower body dressing, toileting, bowel management, and bladder management. So in each of those subdomains, you can score a 0 to 5. 5 means that you're doing it completely independent, and a 0 means that you are completely dependent on your caregiver to complete the activity. So if you're looking at those 8 domains, you can get a total of 5 in each domain, so the PEDI can be scored from 0 to 40. And so this is the data we analyzed was our group was 112 individuals, and this is just looking at the patient demographics and the ethnicity and the language. And then what we found was that self-care skills are higher in older age groups. So as the child ages chronologically, their self-care skills improve. And then just, again, reminding everyone that the PEDI is scored from a 0 to a 40. 40 means that you're completing all tasks independently. And so this is where our cohort was falling. And then these are the domain scores across age groups for each domain that we've been talking about. So, we broke it down to each, eating and grooming and dressing. And so this is what it looks like across the age groups that we analyzed. And again, just looking closer at bowel and bladder management and toileting. So toileting being the act of taking yourself to the bathroom. So you're able to get to the bathroom, you're able to manage your clothes, you're able to do the hygiene after the task. Bowel and bladder management is how much you independently know that you have to use the bathroom, so you don't depend on a caregiver or like a toileting watch or somebody to tell you when you have to go to the bathroom. And this is how our cohort was performing across the ages. Similarly, with eating, this is how our cohort was performing again across the ages. And again, just looking at it as the chronological age is increasing, the level of independence is increasing. And again, as I was speaking before, so we looked at the Vineland and we compared that to the PEDI. So again, the Vineland is something that all parents are presumably completing before their visit. It's distributed through RareX. And so this is the correlation between the scores on the Vineland and the PEDI self-care. And again, the self-care skills are also related to the other developmental outcomes that we have been collecting in our study. And this is just graphs that are showing that as well. And so this is the changes in scores between visits 1 to visit 2. And they're variable across age groups when you're comparing the PEDI, the Bailey, and the Bailey cognitive, the PEDI, the Bailey cognitive, and the Bailey fine motor. And then again, as Sam was saying at the conclusion of his presentation, when we looked at all the different things that we're testing in our natural history study, so all the data that we're collecting, everything sort of lines up to similarly or equally to give like a whole picture of what the individual skill level is. And so we found that the Bailey and, the Vineland and the PEDI are contributing equally to the picture of the skill level of the individual. And in conclusion, the PEDI can measure self-care across all ages, and we've found that it does complement the Vineland as well. And the PEDI just adds another dimension in our measurement of functional skills for individuals with STXBP1, which uniformly contribute to the picture of the child's ability.
Thanks. I think this is absolutely so needed, seriously. And it actually, I see an end point, but apart from that, does this PEDI, is it the same as PEDI EAT? No, right? So it doesn't really monitor also the, let's say, maladaptive behaviors during eating and things like that. Is it the same? No, it's not the same, right? It's a different scale.
So the PEDI the PEDI has, I'm like not used to being like at a podium, but the PEDI has a lot of different components. So it does test things, what you're describing. In our study and sort of what we collect in the clinic, I'm just talking about the PEDI, that's self-care part. So just those 8 domains. But yes, the PEDI has the ability to collect many different things, including like the IADLs that I was talking about, so the planning, the safety awareness, things like that. But for this study, I was just using those self-care domains. Okay. But we could talk later about the other domains.
Thanks.
Yep.
Just a quick, stupid question.
Yeah.
You say that some of these STX people can reach age 90, is it? How old are they, your oldest one in this study? that you have found, how old would that person be?
Okay, that's a great question. So just to clarify, so what I was mentioning was that the test itself, the PEDI and the Vineland, can be used on individuals, from 6 months to 90 years old. But the oldest person in our study is mid-40s. Mid-40s is the oldest person in our study.
And that individual can actually dress themselves and manage all those things or not?
So sorry. Let me go back and I can. So actually, what we've found is that so most individuals with STXBP1 throughout their lifetime need help with most self-care things. So probably for like eating and like self-feeding, probably like min to modicist. Most other things is like modicist for dressing and bathing and toileting and things like that.
So when you say modicist, they're not going to be able to pull their pants on and dress and put their shoes on, right?
So I don't know if I, here we go, thank you. So actually, great questions, and I'm sorry I wasn't clear about that. So if you think about the PEDI, the way that we describe the PEDI is the 0 to 5 score. So 0 is that your caregiver is completing all of the activity for you, and then it goes up. So if you score a 1, the caregiver's score is giving you more than 50% help, and then it kind of goes up from there. So modicist is like you need less than 50% help from your caregiver.
One final question.
Yes.
When you get your information, is this on your own analysis, or are you depending on that information coming from the patient's parents?
Great question. Yeah. So again, sorry, I wasn't clear about that. Yeah. So during my OT evaluation in clinic, like when the families come to visit our clinic, when I'm actually doing my self-care interview, I'm actually asking the parents those detailed questions. And any parent that's been there has been like, okay, so eating, do they sit in a chair? Are they using utensils? What are they? So it's almost like a half-hour interview with the OT and the parent to get those details. Yeah, I think that's so important.
Thank you.
Sure.